Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Rotex Rednecks. Today we're going to be diving deep into the first service of the Gen 3 Can-Am Outlander. Let's go. Without a question, I think the first service is probably the most important one you can do on your machine because you're getting all that fluid from the factory, where all your gears and everything is wearing together. You're getting all those tiny little metal shavings and flakes out of the system so it can start fresh. Today we're actually going to be going through the Airbox. We're going to show you how to change, inspect, clean that if necessary. Then we're going to run into the front differential. We're going to do the engine oil. We're going to do the gearbox oil. We're going to do the rear differential fluid. We're going to change all that out, and then finally at the end we're going to go front to back and inspect everything to show you what I like to look for when my machine's properly wearing it. Let's go. Alright, so looking at the machine, right, you do not need to take all of these panels off to complete these operations. I just do this so I can clean everything out, look everything over, and make sure everything's exactly the way I want it to be. But to find our Airbox, you're going to end up taking off your plastic shrouds on the top and the bottom. I have another video explaining exactly how to get it to this state to where you can inspect it and go over it well, but you do not need to take all this stuff off to perform these easy maintenance tasks. Coming over here, you will see that right below the dash cluster when you're coming off, you have a lid that looks like this. This holds your Airbox housing. It's simple to open up. You just pop these clips here and here, and then you're going to take and you're going to pull from the front side. You got to make sure your clips are hold up a little bit to help it get off, and then you're going to pull out and forward to get it out of those little clips right there, revealing your Airbox. All right, once you get your lid off, you have this elbow here that holds your air filter. You're going to pull back like this, and then you're going to pull up, leaving your filter. Keep this is a reusable piece. Then you're going to go ahead and take your actual air filter out. It sits in that cavity like that. We've got dust, but we don't have any signs of mud or water, so that's really good. And we also have no mud or water in the intake, so it did its job. This is a two-piece filter. So you have a paper element underneath, and then this foam piece comes off. So if you do not have a extra filter like I do, you can take this off and you can clean it. I'm going to show you how to do that now. All right, you're going to just take this and you're slowly going to work it off. Nice and easy, making sure that you don't rip it. All right, now at this point, you're going to inspect your air filter to make sure it's not wet, ripped, torn. You make sure there's no big deposits in there. This one looks pretty good. Like I said, I only have 25 hours on the machine, and I actually cleaned it after last ride. So you'll get in here, and then what I like to do is come from the inside, and I like to gently blow it out from the inside out using compressed air, forcing all the air on the outward side. But this, however, is probably your most important piece. This is your foam piece, and I always oil this with oil. And I'm going to show you how to get the old oil out, get rid of all the deposits and the mud and dust that's been collected on this, clean it out, replace it, air dry it, and put it back on the filter and get it reinstalled. So I am currently out of foam filter cleaner, so I'm going to use a little gasoline. This is an old school trick I used to use from the dirt bike days. You put just a little bit in a container, and then we will wash, and the gasoline will remove all the sediment from the filter. You're going to take your filter and you're going to let it work into all this gasoline. And you can instantly see it pulling all the dirt and dust out of your filter. Now I know some people in the comments are going to be like, oh, you don't do that, it's dangerous. It's fine. As long as you wash it out properly with water, clean it, dry it, and then let it re-oil it, you got nothing to worry about. You'll be good to go. I don't recommend using gasoline all the time because eventually it'll probably wear down the glue. But if you're in a pinch, it does work, especially say you're out at a mud park or something like that and you're getting it really dusty and you don't have a spare filter. This works incredibly well. And then you won't have to worry about your engine starving for oxygen. So you can see all the crap that's came out of this filter already. So it's obviously working really well. Alright, now that you've washed it, I like to take and roll it up in a paper towel and then squeeze all the water out of it that we possibly can. And I'm going to take a regular garden hose And you're gonna wash it out really, really good. That's probably a little too hard. You just shake it and you soak it, work it in with your hands. Go ahead and do your best to get all the gasoline out of there, and then we're gonna pat dry it. All right, once that's dry, come in here, some light compressed air. You're gonna blow any extra sand out that's in that filter. Don't go too hard. All right, now that that's all sprayed out, we're gonna take our dry filter foam and we're gonna slowly get it over that. You want these humps to be in here because it's making sure you got a good seal all the way around. You should have them on both sides. Almost flush with this bottom piece here. Now we're gonna go ahead and add some filter oil. I use a Fab One spray-on filter. It's just what I have here. Any filter oil will work pretty good. You don't want to do this too heavy, but you want to make sure that you're definitely getting a coat on it. Alright, once that you've done that, I like to take and dab with a paper towel to get the extra. You don't want too much oil on there, but you want to make sure it's coated. So go through, dab it up, and it's ready for installation. Alright, before I install it, I always like to come in here and clean this out the best I can. I always like to know I start with a fresh, clean box before I put it in. So go ahead, I usually use a little bit of tire foam or whatever I can get my hands on, and then I clean this entire internal of this box out before I put a filter in. So go ahead and do that. Alright, pretty crucial step here. I always make sure I clean this lip of the seal on no matter what I'm putting it on, because if you have any debris or rocks in here, that allow water to enter, and we all know that we like to ride deep, so we don't want to have any issues. Also, do the same thing on your Airbox seal, and then we're going to add a little dielectric grease afterwards. That's a neat little trick to help any minor holes or imperfections stop from water getting in. Alright, once I'm done with that, I like to take my finger and smear a really thin coat around the entire thing. Really thin. You don't want to overdo it. Doesn't need to be on everything everywhere. But you do want to make sure there's a little bit on that entire seal. Like I said, you don't have to do this. This is just something I do whenever I take my machine into deep water to reassure that that seal is nice and tight. Been doing this for years. Just a little trick. Alright, we're sitting at a pretty good place. We've got our cover clean, we got our air filter ready to go. Take our 90, make sure you inspect your 90, make sure you don't have anything stuck in here that's going to prevent that seal. And then also double check your seal that goes into the Airbox itself. And then you're going to want to line up your seal with the grooves, and you're going to push down ever so tightly so we can go and install that on the machine. Go ahead and install your filter. You're going to go all the way down till you reach the bottom. You're going to push down and you're going to insert that into that hole, making sure it's nice and tight in there. You want a small, tiny little gap right here. Make sure it goes in that hole good. And your cover is going to help hold this down in place, pressing pressure on here. Alright, now carefully, without trying to mess up your dielectric you just did, you're going to come forward, get that in those grooves in the back there, and you're going to press down. And you're going to put these clamps, make sure they're all the way down. You're going to pull tight. Same thing with the front one. And that's it. Your Airbox is done. Alright, looking at the front differential, this is a little bit different than some of the other machines. You come right in here, that is going to be your fill plug. That is an 8mm Allen head. And then on the bottom, if you come around from the front, you're going to look up in here. Sorry if it's getting weird for you guys. Let me move this drain. I haven't done this yet. You're going to come look right under that hole right there, and that's a 5mm Allen key. So go ahead and crack that loose. Go ahead and get ready to take it out. You might get a little bit of fluid come out of here, but it shouldn't be a lot unless you got water in it. Alright, we're looking good there. Nothing. Now we're coming under here. Like I said, 5mm. Go through the center of this hole. I do like to put a paper towel in my drain plan just so I can see what's coming out of here. Any big bad metal shavings, anything I need to be worried about. Boom, there it goes. Go ahead and let that drain all the way. until it stops dripping. And then we're gonna go ahead and put that back in and fill it up. The reason I like to put a paper towel there is because a lot of times it'll stop some of the flakes and stuff that come out. It'll let you kind of know if you're having any real problems with your differential. This is looking pretty good so far. It's not real shiny, especially being the first service, which is usually a lot worse. Now something about the plugs here is when you come over here, it's really common to see some buildup on the plug because these are magnetic, so they grab all this stuff. So don't be freaked out if you have a mound on there, especially in your first service. As long as there's no huge chunks, it's really not too much to worry about it. Like I said, first service, you're just gonna get that. Everything's kind of wear and tearing and working into place, so don't be alarmed if you see a little bit on there. That's about normal. I like to take and smear it just to see what I see. And there's nothing, there's no big chunks or anything. I love that they put a magnet on top of that. That's super cool. So yeah, let's get all this cleaned up. Let that finish draining. We'll look at that. We'll go ahead and reinstall this, and then we'll add fluid to it. All right, consulting our manual here while we're waiting for the oils to go out. I'm just kind of showing you guys that I'm following along with the book here. You want to make sure on a level surface. We did that. We emptied the oil. So recommended servicing gear oil for this is 7590. Anything that is APL GL5, you can find that specification on the back of any major gear oil. So go ahead and do that. You don't have to run the stock stuff. So yeah, if you look at the bottle of any oil, this is Mobile One for instance, meets all the specifications, sorry. If you come on the back here, it's got a meets or exceeds requirements of API GL5. That's what is basically Can-Am is saying here, is that you have to meet these specifications to run that oil inside of your machine. So we know here that that oil will work, but you guys need to check the backs of your oil of choice to make sure that it meets the requirements required by Can-Am. Besides that, as long as you meet that specification, you are good to go. Use any of those oils. I'll use Royal Purple, Mobile One, AM's oil, all good oils. Go ahead and use whatever you got available to you. It does not have to be the XPS stuff. Sometimes if you have access to this, great, but no need to actually go out of your way to do that. All right, go ahead and nice by hand. And then we make sure that O-ring is on there before you install it. I forgot to mention that. There's a small O-ring, but no need to overdo it. Go ahead and do that. Call it a day. Let's go ahead and fill this thing up. All right, the torque on that, for anyone that is curious, is right there. You can see it 146 inch-pounds, plus or minus 22. So if you want to torque it, there's your spec for that. I just snug it up. Choice is yours. All right, now that our plug's installed, we're gonna go ahead and take this 7590 gear weight oil, and we are going to fill the differential back up until it reaches the bottom of that oil fill hole. So let's go ahead and do that, and once it stops draining, we'll reinstall the plug, and that's all that's to it. All right, you guys probably can't see it there, but it's dripping out of the fill hole here, and it's just gonna sit here and we'll wait till it stops. We have one more pump to make sure we're where we need to be, and that'll be all that's to it. Remember to make sure your O-ring's on there before you install this plug. It's got an O-ring that sits on the back. And then once you're in there, give it just a little snug, pull it out, and that's it. All right, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump straight into doing the rear differential, just because we already have the 7590 gear oil already installed on the bottle. So we're gonna go ahead, and it's pretty much the exact same procedure. You're gonna take your two Allen keys, I say should be the same size, and we're gonna open up the drain plug, which that's your fill plug. I like to crack that first, see if any water or anything got in there. And then I like to come in, and you can see that right there is where your drain plug is. So we're gonna go ahead and open this, and then we'll drain all the fluid out and see how it looks. Same thing, I'm gonna put a new paper towel in here. I just wanna see if any metal shavings coming out. As you guys know, Outlander Renegades in the past have been notorious for rear differential problems. So let's see how the new model is looking out after 25 hours. All right, we let that drain. It does not look too bad, hardly any metal flakes at all. The plug looked good, so now we are in the process of reinstalling the plug in the bottom, and we are gonna follow the same exact fill procedures that we just did in the front differential with the 7590 gear weight oil until it comes to the fill hole, stops dripping, and we reinstall the plug. So let's go ahead and do that now.
This gets torqued to 44 inch-pounds. So it's not bad. It's not a very hard torque at all. I'm just going to give it a little snug. You guys feel free to use a torque wrench if that's what you want to do. Call that good right there. Nothing crazy. Alright, now we're going to go ahead. We're going to use the same weight gear oil like we talked about. We're going to stick it in there. We're going to fill it up till it drains out. Alright, as you guys can see, we are dripping out of here. I'm going to just stuff this right here and wait till it stops, and then we'll be able to reinstall our drain plug. We're about to reinstall this plug. Just make sure you guys have this crush washer on here. Sometimes that gets stuck on the differential, sometimes it does not, so just make sure you got one on there before you go ahead and close it. We're going to go ahead and install this and then torque to 44 inch-pounds, and then we are done with the rear differential. Super simple. Moving on, we are going to go ahead and do the gearbox. So that is this piece of machinery right here. Unlike the old Can-Am Outlanders and Renegades, where the gearbox was different than the engine housing itself, to my knowledge, this is all a one-piece mold now. This entire piece is one massive mold. So that being said, the gearbox is not different from the engine. I believe that there is an oil seal in the middle that separates the two. So checking your transmission fluid might be a little bit more imperative nowadays, depending on if that seal was to ever go bad. But to my knowledge, this is all one piece, and your motor oil and your gear oil is separated by a seal internally. And that's kind of a little weird to me, but I mean, people a lot smarter than us develop these machines, and I've been very happy with their performance. So hopefully the reliability matches. Anyway, getting back to the task at hand, we're gonna go ahead and loosen our gearbox fill port, which is right here, is this white cap. And then we're gonna go to the bottom and remove the drain plug. So let's go ahead and take that off real quick, and then we'll move to the bottom. All right, so grabbing you a 15mm Ritchie ratchet. Go ahead and loosen this fill port, and then you can just do it by hand. These little guys from Harbor Freight, worth every penny, come in metric, and they're about half size of a normal wrench. I use them all the time. And here it is leaking out, but it does appear to be just gear oil. That could be me. Maybe I'm not perfectly level where I'm at, so that could be a testament to where the bike's sitting. So as long as it's level, the gear oil is supposed to come out. Anyway, I'm going to drain the rest of it from the bottom into a different pan to make sure that there is no water mixed with the oil. That'll be really easy to tell, so let's go ahead and do that. So 13mm for your gearbox back here. We're going to go ahead and crack this. I'm going to drain this into a different pan so it all stays in the same fluid barrier. I just want to make sure there is no water or oil in this. So we'll see how it looks here in a second. Alright, now that is literally just gear oil. It must have just been a little bit over serviced from the dealership. Hopefully, let's take a look at this drain plug here. That doesn't appear to be too bad. Smear it out. It's got some minor flaking on it, but nothing crazy. Completely normal for a first service, so not too worried about that either. Don't forget to put your crush washer back on there. Replace if you bought the kit. If not, your first couple rounds you should be all right. Just being real, a lot of the manual will tell you to replace it every time, but it's kind of a waste of money. Anyway, I'm gonna get this cleaned up, get that cleaned up. I'm also gonna clean up the hole here where it went through, and then I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall everything and get ready to fill it up and then reinstall the plug. All right, we are now going to take our drain plug and we're going to go ahead and install it and torque it to 15 foot-pounds. All right, it's now time to fill up that gearbox. So we're looking at the 75-140, if you guys can read that. We're going to put the Mobile 1 in there. I'm going to go ahead and put the pump on there. We'll get to pumping. It's filled up the same way that the differentials were. You're going to make sure it's parked in a level position. We do have the level on the machine right there. And then we're gonna fill it up until it starts to come out, and we'll call it good. This helps the mess a little bit. Put in a paper towel under there, and I found it easier to go underneath the brake pedal rather than try to go above it. So then you sit here and it's time to start pumping. Remember, we're just gonna go till it starts to flow out the bottom. Now that that's done, we're going to move right into the engine oil. Let's go ahead and crack our dipstick here so that we can not have any vacuum on it. We'll leave that like that so no dirt can fall in. Once that's cracked, you're going to come down to the underside here. You're going to look, it's kind of hard to see in the way. Let's see that big bowl right there, 17 mil. You're going to take that out and then we're going to drain the oil, same way we did everything else. So let's go ahead and drain that. Alright, now that we have finished draining it, go ahead and reinstall this plug, 22 foot-pounds. And that's it. Alright, this is where your filter housing is. You've got 3 bolts holding it on. They're all 8mm, or you can use a 30 star tip to take that out as well. So I'm going to go here, crack these loose. Alright, little trick of the trade. Go ahead and turn it just a little bit so you can get your hand behind there. And it is going to leak a little bit. Go ahead and pull that out. You might be just go in, there's a little lip right here, and just pull it right out. It'll come out easy. Now we're going to want to kind of look at this just to see if there's any big metal flakes in it. There's really not. I don't see anything in here that's of a concern. Looks pretty good for the first initial oil change. I'm going to set this in that bucket and let it drain out. While I'm sitting right here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to clean all this out. While I'm in here, just to verify I've got a good seal on everything. You want all this to be nice and clean when you go to put it back on. Go ahead and clean this cap out. Bring that out. Alright, now I do have the XPS Can-Am kit here, the 5W kit for any 500cc and up. You do not have to use this kit if you don't want to. I've been using this stuff actually my entire life, which is just as good. Only reason I bought this was because I was at Big Rock. I get a pretty good discount from them. They're really good to me. So I wanted to get the kit for them. Comes with an extra oil filter and all that stuff, and they had it right there. So it was just super convenient. That's why I did it. But no shame in using this stuff at all. I use it in everything. I'm actually getting ready to take it and do the oil change on my Defender next. So I'm gonna crack this open. We're gonna take the filter out. We're gonna use the crush washer and all that stuff, but besides that, you do not have to buy this. It's great if you do. Doesn't hurt if you don't. Great all the way around, as long as you have a Jazzo MA certification like that one right there, Jazzo MA. That is a specification that meets or exceeds the standard of BRP motors, so feel free to use that. Anyone that says you can't is an idiot. Even though it says duty, heavy duty diesel, that's not a diesel motorcycle, but people love to think they're smarter than you. Can't wait for the comments. Love you guys. Alright, just so I know it's going to happen, I'm just going to show this to you guys here. Recommendation of XPS oils, that's what I was just talking about. But if you're unable to use it, any sort of you know, warm or general purpose oil, that's what I'm going to go with, is a 5W40. But if you see, we need a 5W40 synthetic oil blend, and anything that meets or exceeds the indications must contain at least one of these indicated standards: API Service Classification SN or Jazzo MA2. That's what I was just showing you guys on the back here. If you look up here, sorry, there you go, meets or exceeds Jazzo MA or MA2. It's got everything it needs in it. So somebody's going to say something, but they just don't know what they're talking about. So looking at our oil filter here, this is the same exact oil filter that goes in almost all of BRP stuff. So four-wheelers, their Defenders, their small side-by-sides, all that kind of stuff. The Maverick Sport, it all uses the same oil filter. It's always been really good. I recommend using BRP ones. They're not very expensive, and they don't usually fail. Some of the other ones that you get off Amazon, they start to decay where they connect. So I highly recommend just using the BRP ones. You can pretty much get them just about anywhere. So let's go ahead and install this bad boy. We're going to take a little bit of oil. We're going to oil this up, and then we're going to install this side into the motor like that. All right, you're going to take the rubber end, and you put the rubber end in. You're going to find its little home, and you're going to, don't force it, just find it. And there it goes. Fits in there nice and snug. Try to make sure it's centered all the way around. That rubber seal should be sitting on a little spout that comes out, and it's going to go over it like that. work its way in there. And all right, now that we've installed our cover here, all that's left to do is to fill this oil up in between your minimum and your maximum amount. Should be right around 2.9 quarts. I'm going to go ahead and add about 2.5 quarts and then check it. And that's literally all that's to it. Hopefully this little thing helped you out, changing all these fluids and all that stuff.